Two, one, we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to another one of our lunchtime live streams for Blinks by Move38. Today, we've got a really exciting live stream. So for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be sharing not only for the intro about Blinks, if this is your first time watching the stream, but we've got guests with us. And I'm just going to switch over real quickly. We've got two members of Big Potato Studio, or Big Potato Games, James and Tris. So, hey James, hey Tris.
Hello. Hi.
And then,
Thanks for having us.
of course, it's so nice to have you guys on. Dan, who of course is joining us as well, has been working really closely with James and Tris on a new game for the Blinks game system. And we'll get into that a little bit in just a little bit. But if this is your first time here, I just want to give you a quick rundown of what Blinks are, and then we'll get a chance to talk to James and Tris about Big Potato, the kind of games that they make. One of the reasons that we're really excited to have a game from them on our system, and then just we'll talk about the process. I think it's been a really interesting process in developing games and kind of figuring out where you land. No pun intended. That'll make sense a little bit later. And let's see. So I'm going to switch to my top camera just for a moment. Let's see. Okay, so if you're watching, these are the Blinks game system. And Blinks are these intelligent game pieces where each hexagonal intelligent game piece can respond to touch, and they communicate with their neighbors, and each one of them knows a different game, and so you know which game it knows based on the artwork on the back of the Blink. And the game we're going to be playing today is a new game by Big Potato Games called Tiptoe Volcano, and so I'll show you what it looks like to load that up, and then we'll hear from the creators. So I'm going to grab my Blink with Tiptoe Volcano on it, hold it down until it goes into program mode, introduce it to the group of Blinks, and it's going to teach all the other Blinks how to play that game. And so while Tiptoe Volcano takes about 20 seconds to load up, I'll switch over and we'll get a chance to meet the team. All right, so we're all on. How about Tris? Tris, if I'm not mistaken, you're one of the founders of Big Potato Games. Is that right?
Yep. There's me and two other guys called Dean and Ben who started it all off about 8 years ago now. We weren't actually called Big Potato then. We had just one game in the UK called a game called Linky. You can also buy it in the US now, and we kind of thought maybe that's it. You know, we'll do one game and then kind of just do something else, or maybe try a few more. But we didn't ever think we'd end up starting an actual grown-up business, you know, making more games. And then the first person we ever hired was James, about how many years ago? 6?
Nearly 6, actually, yeah. Wow.
Years ago. So, I mean, in the early days, we weren't very, we weren't probably the best bosses because we'd never hired anyone before. So James was made to make his own chair and sit in the corner because we didn't have a chair for when he first arrived. So we were a little bit slapdash at the beginning, but now now I think we're doing okay. We've probably got over 60 games in about 28-30 countries. We've got a lot of games in the US, in Target, Walmart, a lot of the indie stores, on Amazon. The biggest biggest sellers at the moment there would be a game Chameleon, which has done really well, and another game called Blockbuster, which comes in a Blockbuster video store, so it comes in an old school VHS box and stuff, and it's all about. And basically what we do is we do just simple party games, tabletop party games that are like 2 minutes to learn, 30 minutes to play, done. So we don't go for anything too hardcore, complicated gaming stuff. We just go for like lols and good times.
I remember that when Blockbuster came out, because it was a huge setup at PAX Unplugged, I think. For the first time I saw it, at least, it was this big setup, and people had shirts. And it was this huge. It was really cool. It was one of those
Did they make the stand look like a video store?
Yeah. It was just one of those, like, every time you go to a convention, there's one or two booths that become like destinations. Have you checked out the Blockbuster booth? Is it busy? Yeah, they set up a Blockbuster video, but it's like a game. And I remember that and thought, like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And that was probably 2 years ago.
It gave me.
So the guys did a great job there actually, because they made it look like a video store. They bought really old school computers, like from the 80s, and had that on the, as the cash register and stuff.
Yeah.
And they did loads of little tricks like that, and they had lots of old videos from, like Top Gun and all that kind of, like stuff.
Really.
But people were actually quite confused and were coming up saying, "Oh, can we start renting these?" and things like that. So they, it almost backfired. They didn't realise it was actually a game. And then apparently you get people coming up saying, "Oh, I used to work in Blockbuster." Oh, getting quite excited for the nostalgia vibe that was coming out.
I feel like it gave me anxiety that I was late to return my Nintendo Virtua Boy.
Hell of a fine.
They had like their old membership cards in their wallet and stuff from like the 90s. And I woke up and like, I've still got mine.
What are they hoping for? It's going to make a comeback, and
They were hoping to get a free game, I think. They're hoping that if they show the membership card, they get a free game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Waiting for this.
So, I mean, with 60 games published at this point, and you were saying, the games that you've made really haven't, your goal hasn't been to be, I don't know, I need to be careful about the way I say this, but they're not supposed to be extensively deep in gameplay. It's more about the fun that people are having, right?
Yeah, for us it's we're not clever enough to do the really intelligent games, and to be honest, although some of those games are amazing and they're great fun, you do need to give up quite a bit of your time to sometimes play those sort of games. I mean, not all of them go on for 3 hours, but so quite a few do. And we kind of, I guess we decided just to make our sweet spot these party games that are they're very easy to pick up. They're really fun to play. But what we try to do is, with everything we do, is just really curate the content. So a lot of it's very sort of, it takes a lot of time to craft, whether it's a trivia game with questions or, we spend a lot of time on the packaging. So we try and give our games a lot of personality as well. So I think even though they're quite simplistic, we do spend an inordinate amount of time sort of worrying whether that should be green and that should be red, and the names of the games and the taglines and all that sort of stuff. So
it really shows through. I mean, I think it's one of the things that stand out. And when we announced that we were doing a game with Big Potato, I think we had a number of people reach out to us going, "I can't believe I've never heard of Big Potato. I love all their stuff." And it was just yeah, this is a really, it's always exciting when there's a good fit of I feel like Move 38 really has maybe an obsessive sense of attention to detail, but I feel like Big Potato, as far as story and narrative and character and personality, it's just it really shines. And yeah,
but it felt like a good fit because I mean, Blinks is such in essence a very simple clever thing. Obviously behind all that is seriously clever stuff going on, but to the user they don't need to know any of that, do they? They just have this really cool toy basically that can do all these simple fun things. Some of the games more complicated, some of the games simple, but I think that just ties in with what we do, that we just try and kind of keep it simple, but in sort of underneath the surface there's a lot of stuff gone in to make that thing so simple and so sort of fun to play, and you want to just hopefully play straight away after you finish the game. That's the the real test for us is that people want to come back for more, rather than get bored halfway through a game and like, yeah, okay, I'll finish that later. You want them to want to immediately start another game. And I think that's what you get with Blinks, because the games are so simple and fun. You're like, oh, cool, let's do that one again. So it has exactly that same effect.
I feel like Dan's done a really amazing job on that. I feel like as he's like curating the sets of games and looking at the existing games we have, there's a very particular kind of I don't know. It seems like there's a trajectory for like, okay.
Yeah, I will say that part of this is that and we'll talk about this as we talk about the process. And I want to give James a chance to introduce himself. Part of this that's been really great is that sometimes I have to spend time trying to help people understand why their very complicated idea could work on Blinks conceptually, but probably should be broken down into more like emotionally like resonant pieces of gameplay. You don't need 1,000 elemental types. What you need is a simple advantage-disadvantage system, and rock, paper, scissors will probably just do you fine instead of 17 colors. And I found that, working with Big Potato, I never had to give you that speech. I never had to explain to you that, yes, if you want the feeling of exploration, you can probably achieve it because you're already so focused in on those moments and knowing that a simple thing can produce those kind of feelings and be fun in that way. And it's been really there's a reason why we almost ended up making 2 games because so many of your ideas were so immediately like, yes, I know exactly how to build this and exactly why it would be fun. And I think what makes this game so good is we took both those games that were the best ideas and made them into one game. And so now it's just like the best of everything.
So
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You carry on. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna give James a chance to pop in because yeah.
I was just gonna agree with what Dan said. Really, it did feel like a really nice pairing. Again, like Tris said, we make what we're good at is we make simple games, right? We think, okay, what do we want this game to do? What feeling do we want the players to have? And then you can't just like strip everything away from it, just go straight to the core of it without adding too many layers or too many rules onto it. And Blinks, it was just like all the games I'm aware of are just like very quick to learn, very quick to play, which made it kind of the perfect pairing for us, really. I had a lot of fun. I think, like Dan was saying, we had these 2 ideas that were going to work, and I think it's because one of the things I really liked about Blinks was this idea that, and we'll probably get back into it more when we show how the game works, but this idea that you can hide things in plain sight on Blinks. It's kind of like, I guess it's like having a card face down on the table in a board game, right? But just the different, like, you can do it in so many other ways sort of thing with the Blinks. I quite like that. And I think the moment we knew we wanted to make like a push your luck bluffing game, it just felt like Blinks was like the perfect, I guess, vehicle for that.
I feel like this is a perfect time to break out the game, and you can walk us through kind of how to play. And I'm going to be the guinea pig here, so let me switch my camera view real quickly. It seems like our stream is flickering a little bit.
Yeah, I was just saying. Not sure why.
Not sure I can actually help that on the spot, so I think we're going to have to just accept it. But hopefully it's not too disruptive.
Now I'll find this out in 25 seconds.
Let's see. So here we go. I'm going to switch over to the tabletop view. Okay, I'm going to turn on the game. Okay, so I've got a whole field. I loaded the game up, and I've got a whole field of green, kind of green and yellow pieces, box of chameleon. And then as I tapped one, I got a red one. So what should I do here to start the game?
So what you're looking at right now, with all the Blinks connected, this is like the full playing field. So as like part of the setup part of the game, each player would get 4 Blinks. each. So you break the board up before you kind of assemble it.
Okay. All right. So I've got 3 groups of 4.
Okay, so let's disregard the 2 of the groups. Pretend they've gone to other players, and if you take your group of 4, you want to kind of hide it from the other players so they don't know, they can't see what you're doing. And as you said, they're all green at the moment. If you tap one, it's going to turn red. Okay, that's essentially you laying what we've called like a lava trap. Okay, and you can put as many of those down as you want. You can do all green and leave no traps, or you can make them all red and make them all traps. It's completely up to you. But the most important thing is the players don't see. So if you choose a number between, I guess it's quite hard to play this on the stream. It's a social deduction game, but we can kind of do like a variant of it. So if you, without showing me on the screen, choose a number between 0 and 4 to click as red. So plant as many or as few lava traps as you want.
Okay.
Okay. And once you're done, you double tap any blink, and it should put them into stealth mode, so they should all go green. There you go. So now
Perfect.
I have no idea how many traps you've set.
Cool.
So meanwhile, me, Tris and Dan would have been doing the same thing with our blinks.
Yep.
And we'd all put them into stealth mode and pop the board together on the table. So now
So if you wanna simulate this slightly, you can take those other ones and you can triple click them.
Okay.
Just do it once. Let me see. Just make sure, because it might be quadruple click. Try 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay. If you quadruple click it, sorry, I forgot which one I set it to. It goes into random mode. This is a sort of little bonus mode that I programmed in partially for fun and partially because we had discussed a rule change that required this. So if you set all those to random mode and then put them in stealth mode, none of us will know which ones are traps. They'll just be what they are, and you'll be in real danger. So you'll know your 4, but the other ones, we don't know.
Okay. So I'm playing 2 NPCs here.
Yeah.
And so all these are random, and then I've got my 4, which
you have knowledge of.
I'm aware of. So I'm gonna attach my 4, and they all went immediately into gameplay mode.
Yeah. So now you've just got this field, and then let them go.
So just to double check, the field's all completely green.
The field's completely green, and I can hold that up to this camera so you can see as well.
Cool. So there are X amount of lava traps on that board. We don't know how many there are, and we don't know where they are. So we knew, just to quickly explain a bit about when we thought of this idea, we knew we wanted to do a push your luck sort of game. But I think we also kind of wanted to blend in a bit of like bluffing into that. And I think what we like most about bluffing games is just being able to get inside the other players' heads and kind of have that little mental, showdown between players. So this is kind of the betting phase. So we'd go around in a circle, and John, let's say you were to start. You would tell me how many blinks you think you can press without hitting any lava traps. So you'd normally start around 1 or 2, but you can bet as high as you want.
Do they have to be in a specific order, or can I just random?
The only rule is that you have to touch one of your blinks first, and after that you can tap whichever ones you want. You can jump to the other side, do whatever you want.
Okay. So let's see. I feel like I could do 3.
Okay, cool. So then it would move to me, and I'd think, okay, John reckons he can do 3. I've got 2 options here. I can either call you and be like, I think you can do 3, and I'd make you tap them, or I could think, I think I could do more, and I could raise you by saying 4 or 5 or even 6. But let's say I raise you, I think, okay, I can do a bit more than that. I think I can hit 4 and not any lava traps.
And so now
then it would go to Tris.
Tris, are you feeling lucky?
You reckon?
Well, I theoretically, so I know how many I've pressed on mine. So if I say pressed, if I'm an idiot, but it's possible, and I've pressed all 4 of mine red, made them all lava, then I can't get involved in this at this stage, because I'm going to have to press one of mine if you call me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to be really careful. So I probably at this stage, unless I've made all mine green, in which case I probably would say 5 to say if I've made all 4 of mine green, I know I can get 4 for sure. And I've only got one sort of lucky press on something else. I've got a pretty good chance there's more out there because you're already on 4. So if I'd already pressed, say, 4 greens or even 3 greens, I might call 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we on 5 or 6?
So I bet 4. So it's whether
I might go 5. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that because one of my favourite tactics in this game is because you're right. If you set all 4 of yours as red, it would probably be quite a silly thing to bet 5, right? Because if you get called out, then you've got to start one of your own, and you're gonna lose. However, if you bet 5, like if you could set them all as red, and you could bet 5 with like real confidence, the next player's gonna think he's really confident about that. Most of his are probably good to go, so they might, if they get called out, they might go straight to yours and find out they're all red, and you just bluff them.
Right. James, I know that you were pretty confident about saying 4, so I might want to go straight to your territory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that might be what I want you to do.
Now, unfortunately, for the stream purposes for simulating this, we don't know 2/3 of the board is totally random. Now, John knows his 1/3. But yeah. But let's say that Tris had not felt this confident. He had turned all of his off, or to lava. And he's like, I can't get involved. He goes, okay, fine. All right, James, do 5. I challenge you. And then it would be James' turn to touch the thing. I think, yeah.
So
Okay.
We can try simulating that.
So
alright.
I could go. Is that me being called before?
Potentially, I just wanted to see if John could start pressing the buttons. I think.
Okay. Well, maybe let's say that went differently, and maybe if we called John on 4 or 5, because I think it'd be better representation, seeing as you're technically a player in this game.
Yeah, so I'll try and go for 5.
Okay. Yeah.
So in this case, so I'm going to start on one I know. So I tiptoe, I press, and I'm safe.
Yeah. And now you've done one of yours, you can do any one you want on the board.
Okay. So,
The
interesting.
important thing here is to remember which one of yours you made red, which ones you made red and which ones you didn't, because I've made this mistake quite a few times. I forget my own lava.
I remember.
Also, once you press something, it's permanently dimmed, so you know that one's the right now these aren't final graphics, but the premise is that you stepped on that patch of grass and it hasn't caved into magma.
Okay, so I'm going to venture off my land. I'm curious strategy-wise here if I want to reveal the ones immediately, since next round it doesn't matter. So I'm going to safely... Oh, are you kidding me?
Did you forget what yours were?
Apparently I did. I could have sworn I had it.
Yeah, you do have to keep your eyes on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so lava's flowing, and clearly I lose in this case.
Okay. So your punishment, let's say I'd been the one who called you. Your punishment for hitting the lava is you lose one of your blinks. You're going into the next round with 3 blinks instead of 4. If you had made the challenge, I would have lost a blink instead, and I'd be going in with 3 instead of 4. So the board gets smaller as you continue through the game. It's a last player standing sort of situation.
I see.
And
The other important thing I want to point out is that you don't get to find out what everyone else did.
Exactly, yeah. So that's it's an interesting that you brought that up, because one of the things I quite like about playing this is that rather than, I saw there was a comparison before to Liar's Dice, I think, and which we play a lot, and rather than Liar's Dice, where the results, the dice rolls you have are randomized, right? Whereas in this one, you're determining your own dice rolls, sort of thing. So you can kind of you can start figuring out someone's play style a bit by how many lava traps they put and how they act with it. So for example, I think when I played someone else in the office, they kept doing that thing I was saying where they set all of their things as lava and then they bet really hard and then I end up falling for it. And it's happened I think 3 times in a row. And I was like, there's no way I've done it for a 4th time. And then they had, and I lost the game. It was just a nightmare. But that kind of that human involvement where you're consciously deciding how many ones you want to set, it's quite a nice kind of way of judging, kind of trying to read other people, sort of thing.
we're getting some cool comments in the stream as well. People are really just yeah, like this looks. Oh, I saw this looks like so. This looks so fun. Loving those colors, and I read it as this looks so fun loving. And I also feel like it's a fun loving game too.
It's a fun loving
Also,
game.
that's Nicole, the our intern, who was on stream many times.
Well, yeah, this is so everybody gets kind of a chance. So we play this down, and then I'm eliminated when I no longer have any land in the game. Is that right?
Yeah, you're out of the game, and it's funny when it gets down to if it stays even to the point where, like, let's say at the end of the game one of us has 1 and the other one only has 2, it becomes like a real. It turns into like another game, like the kind of like the mental kind of jumps you have to make, trying to like, is he bluffing me? Are they double bluffing me? Are they like triple bluffing me? You just don't know, sort of thing. It gets quite, it gets really fun.
That's besides being duped 4 times in a row. What are other examples from some of the play testing that just kind of stood out?
There are. Well, it's funny. So there was a point where we thought, could we introduce like another random element to it, where you set your blinks and then you put the board together. We were thinking, could there be a rule where sometimes you have to rotate the board and you kind of forget where your stuff is? And then we found out that as you just found out, that just happens naturally. You do just forget kind of where you put your stuff sometimes.
And that is partially where the chaos mode blink that you were playing with this time came from. Is okay, what if instead of the board getting smaller, anytime you lost one, just made it chaotic? That has the effect of making it more chaotic, but as James pointed out, it removes what's this really cool effect of that. What is this game like when there's 3 blinks and 2 players? That is a whole other game, and you wouldn't have that if you just used the chaos system. Like, obviously I left it in the code because you could try it. But I thought, oh, of course the board should always be really big. Why wouldn't you want that? But after the play testing, it's like, oh no, I don't want that. I want that slow trimming down and the math and okay, now I really have to make deductions about what this person meant. I think that was really brilliant about the design that you guys did.
Yeah, I mean, I think the it kind of getting to that point where you do have where one person has less blinks than the other one, and it gets this kind of like mental game. I think we wanted to get to that as quickly as possible. Like, I remember when we first started playing, the rules were if you were a 2-player game with 12 blinks, we were saying you each get 6 blinks, and then we kind of we got rid of that and said you only get to start with 4, because at the very beginning, when you do have 6, you lose track of which ones are traps immediately. It's really confusing, and but it feels almost a bit more arbitrary. You're not really. There's too many to think about, so you're just clicking random ones and hoping you don't hit it. Whereas it's only when you get to 4 and 3 that you start really thinking. That's when you start playing mind games with each other, sort of thing. Like, I really hope that's for this one. Sort of thing.
Well, I know John just had to run for a second, but we don't have a ton of time necessarily. But I think people will be interested to hear about the 2 early ideas that spawned this. I know it was Grave Robbers, and Triss, I think yours you just called Spoof, or I'm not sure you had a title for it, but those were the games that became this.
Yeah, I can't remember what the actual working title of that game was, but do you have a game in the US called Spoof? Is that something that you're familiar with?
Not to me.
So I'm sure you must have the same game, but with a different name. Where it's a pub game. It's a sort of drinking game, betting game, where you have 3 coins in each hand. Each player has 3 coins, and then you decide. So if there's 4 people playing, there's 12 coins in total, and then you put 1, 2, or 3, or 0 in your hands. You put your hands on the table, and then you shout 3, 4, 4, 5, and then obviously it's the same sort of slight mind games, slight working out mathematically, right, if they've said that, and then you can still have the calling and stuff like that. So I guess that was we played that it's the sort of thing you play at college and at school and stuff. So we just know that's really fun. And Blinks is something that we thought if we, before we knew about Blinks, it would have been something that we would definitely take down the pub when we go after work for a few drinks or something. It works so well in a pub because it's like the colours really come out, because pubs are usually quite dark inside. It's just the perfect drinking, betting game, or just forfeit game, or it's perfect for that kind of setting. And so that's where that idea came from. And then James had an idea about, you describe it, James.
Yeah, well, I think the working title was like Grave Robbers or Grave Diggers, something like that, which is a bit bleak. But it was a bit different. You would build a board. I mean, it was still a push your luck game. You'd build a board, and the idea was to bring little, I guess, meeples into Blinks. So you'd move your meeple along the board, and you'd try and, a bit like the lava bit, you would dig on this blink, and hopefully you'd find treasure, but there was always a chance that you'd hit a ghost and it would kill you, right? And the further away you got from the start point, the more likelihood there was of a ghost coming and getting you and you losing all your points. So it was inspired a lot by a good Oink game called Deep Sea Adventure, if anyone's played that, just with a bit more kind of like, I guess, a bit more special effects from the Blinks, and then a bit more kind of like randomness thrown in. But I think what kind of bothered us a bit about that, I mean, because it was fun to play, but being as it was like a turn-by-turn experience, so I would see how far I could get, and then the next player would see how far they could get, and then you'd write down the scores. But it was really lacking like any kind of social interaction between the players.
It was sort of like playing solitaire one at a time and then comparing scores.
Yeah. Get the high score, and it was lacking this kind of. I mean, there was a lot of downtime per turn. Sometimes you'd be waiting like 2 or 3 minutes for your next go, which got quite boring. And I think the main idea that you weren't really playing with each other, you were just playing one after another, is what kind of led us to be like, okay, how can we get everyone playing on this board at the same time?
It's funny because what we retained from it was the tiptoe. This cautious, how about here, but applying it to the spoof game loop. And I think the themes that you came up with, I know that for a time this was totally abstract in development, and the theme that you came up with was really raised the stakes in a way that we really like. It's not just wrong, it's you're covered in lava.
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch over just so everybody can see the game art, because I feel like it's a perfect time to share it. You guys can actually talk about it. I feel like, yeah. And I know that while we have Tris and James on the stream with us, Big Potato Games is a much larger group of game designers and artists, and all collaborating. So, yeah, I believe the artwork was made by Bex. Is that right?
Yeah. One of our graphic designers. We basically just said, we have a game about not stepping in lava called Tiptoe Volcano. Can you give us like an angry kind of, I guess, Mario Kart-esque volcano that looks fun but also quite angry? And yeah, she killed it. I think it looks really fun.
And
it's nice. The forest back there is nice.
Do you see something maybe the letters look a little bit like they're sort of stepping on hot coals? They're sort of jumping down a little bit.
I like that detail.
I think she's done a really good job, and it fits into your catalogue of other designs really well, I think. So, but with a little bit of sort of maybe a little bit big potato-y. Our designers do pretty much everything for all our games. We hardly ever use that outsourced, design. So yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And what we say?
Me and Tris were going to try and sneak a potato into it, and I think we just forgot.
Still got time.
Yeah,
hasn't gone to print yet.
Hasn't gone to print. Maybe a potato in there somewhere. It's so cool. I mean, I feel like Dan and I, for the first 12, effectively put together all the game art, and then with the community set and newer games, people have been making their own game art, but it's exciting to see kind of this library. I mean, I've got my set of 18 at home, and lots of people are going to start to have their sets of 18 or 20 plus. And it's just like this really cool catalog, and I feel like the game art itself, it's like seeing the Tiptoe Volcano as I rendered it onto the back of a Blink. It was just like, yep, awesome. Like, I want to be able to just pick that one out of the group. So
That's great for them.
I'm trying to think. I feel like, I don't want the stream to run too long. We could honestly have you on for hours because there's just so much that went into this. And I feel like, are there any items that you wish you could share with our viewers about Tiptoe Volcano, something they should look forward to, or something about the process that you'd like to share?
I guess what's quite nice is when we were test playing it, even towards the end, we were finding kind of new tactics and new like play styles to try out, like the put them all red and then bluff hard or do the opposite and stuff. So it would just be interesting to see if any new ones kind of come out of people just playing it themselves. Like if you do get like really aggressive players or something like that, quite interesting to see like different styles of playing, I guess. And just also, we were only playing with 12 blinks. It'd be cool to see if loads of people could play with like 20 blinks or something like that. That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah. We also sort of like toying with, house rules. So, when you get down, if you're down to your last blink in this game, are you allowed to hit one lava square and still survive and things like that? So you have like a last chance saloon type of element to it. Because especially when I'm playing James, he seems to absolutely give me an absolute pasting. So he's normally on like 4 blinks, and I'm down to 1 straight away, within 3 goes. So I think he took pity on me, and we tried to invent a rule to help people who are really bad at it, like me. But yeah, what's good about this game is I think you can, it's good in that way that it can allow you to tweak the rules a little bit, to see kind of what suits, just to tinker with them a little bit and try different things out. So,
well, there's 2 things. One, I've been actually thinking about recently a version of this that is more like based on a different model of game, but using the same idea where everyone goes around and just presses 1. And like you could play a totally different game, still the same setup. Here are my 4, tap, 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 put them together, and then, okay, on my turn, I press this one. And you could play a totally different game, same code, and you may find you have a different strategic experience. And the second thing is there's a question in the comments, where did the name Big Potato come from? That might be a good question to just get to. Yeah.
That came from me, because this game that we started the whole thing off, called Linky, was originally called Big Potato. That was the name of the game. And I got the name from my sister, who was in China teaching. And apparently, if you're like a bit of a big shot in China, you're called a big potato. Like if you've done really well, you're a big potato.
Head honcho.
I guess you might say we might say a big cheese or something. So they say big potato. So in this game, when you won, you became the big potato. So you've done really well. Anyway, the name was a bit crazy, so we changed it to Linky, which was sort of a bit clearer about what the game's about. But it was always sitting in the background, and then when we decided, right, we need a company name, what should we do? Suddenly thought, well, Big Potato? I mean, it makes no sense, but it's kind of funny, makes people laugh. And so that just stuck. When we came back from lunch, actually, me, Dean and Ben, and I don't think James was there, actually, and then we sort of walked into our little tiny sort of cave and said, James, we're now called Big Potato. And he's like, oh, okay, what sort of lunch did you guys have? Where the hell did that come from? So we had to rationalise it to him. Yeah, people don't seem to forget it, so I think it's kind of working. And people always have a good chuckle when we tell them our email address. What's your email address? James@bigpotato.com, and they just like most of them just look at you like you're crazy. So it's good.
It's also taught me how many people don't know how to spell potato. So I always have to read out my email address letter by letter.
Are they putting an E at the end?
They're always putting E's on the end.
Yeah.
You can thank Dan Quayle for
Dan
that
Quayle.
one, I believe.
We did it. Did it, America.
Yeah, I guess you could thank America for that. Oh
He's
man.
vice president.
Amazing. We've got quite a track record. Well, I feel like this has been a really fun stream. I'm excited for everybody on the stream to get a chance to play the game. I'm excited for people to. This is kind of the perfect time to let everybody know to mark their calendars for October 20th. So 10/20/2020 is when we're going to be dropping new games for the Blinks game system. And they're going to be dropping in the one place you always know to get your games first, which is Kickstarter. And so to follow along, of course, you can subscribe to Move 38, but you should also follow along with Big Potato for all the amazing games that they're making. And I believe it's pretty easy to remember, right? BigPotato.com.
Yeah, no E. Just P-O-T-A-T-O.
Oh yeah, no E. So definitely check out their games. We're excited to release this game and hopefully get it funded, of course, as quickly as possible. So join us October 20th, and we'll be back here every Thursday. Next Thursday we'll be live streaming and revealing more of the games that we're working on for the next set. What's that,
Fun
Dan?
fact about this, I don't know, Tris and James, if you know this, but there was a brief period where you were competing with another game designer for this set for theme. So he had made a ghost-themed game, and you were making a ghost-themed game. And I was like, all right, maybe one of them will change theme, and I won't have to make one of them change theme. Because there was a point where it was like, oh, if we go too far down the road on Grave Robbers, I have to do something about this. And luckily that didn't happen, so no one had to change their theme. But there was, that as people watch the streams and see more of the games, you will eventually see the ghost-themed game that survived. But you were almost in conflict, but it didn't come into play.
This whole time I thought you had to have that difficult conversation, Dan. Well, I think while we've got everybody on, I'm going to ask for your quick support while we do a drum roll. So at the end of this stream, we're going to raffle off a Blinks game system, a Blinks core set. And so the way to enter for that is sharing our posts and tagging friends. Every time you tag a friend, you up your chances. And so we had some big gamblers this time. And I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice. A quick shout out to some of the new entries, Vinny Castellaneta, Oz Shadowless, Sarah, Corey Wazinski. Oh, cool. So I'm seeing all sorts of new names in the list. And let's see, I'm going to roll the dice. The winning number is 37, which belongs to Naomi Franson. Congratulations, Naomi. Everybody, I guess we can give like a big shout out. And so congratulations on the win. Thanks for sharing our posts. Of course, be sure to enter in future. We're going to continue to do those. We'll have a hiatus as we're ramping up for the Kickstarter. But yeah, be sure to subscribe down below, smash the like, ring the bell, and all those fun things that all the YouTubers are so good at. Tris, James, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you
Thanks for having us.
And looking forward to seeing you guys soon and playing some Tiptoe Volcano remotely and hopefully in person someday soon.
Absolutely. That sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks.
I'll
Okay,
do
Bye.
Wait.
All right.